All right, well, on my puzzle blog called Wits End, I recently posted a sort of a two crosswords, sort of one crossword. It was the same puzzle with two sets of clues, and one set was cryptic clues, and I had some questions from people about some of those, and I thought maybe I'd go through and explain how the cryptic clues work. So, if you're not familiar with my puzzle blog, I post once or twice a week some puzzles of various kinds: Sudokus, pencil puzzles, crosswords, all kinds of stuff, word puzzles. And recently I posted right here, I'm doubly cross now, and it's got the crossword puzzle, and I had all the clues in cryptic clues and non-cryptic clues on online solving, and a PDF version that you can print off if you prefer to use pen and paper or pencil and paper, depending on how good you are at crosswords. But yeah, so this is the online version of the cryptic clues. I'm going to go through, obviously I know these, so I'm not solving them blind because I wrote the clues, but hopefully I'll remember all of them. But I'm going to go through and kind of explain them. So if you haven't solved this yet and you want to solve it either with the cryptic or the non-cryptic clues, because the answer is the same, so I'm going to spoil the answer. So if you want to go try and solve it before you watch this, link in the description on the screen there. Go solve it now, pause the video, and then you can come back and, if you want to use this to kind of help you with ones you're struggling with, you can do that too. Try and solve it and come back for some hints or something. So anyways, now we're going to spoil things. So let's get into it. So if you're not familiar with cryptic crosswords, they're a little confusing at first, but there's some standards that they all follow. So for example, every cryptic clue, I say every, anything that I say every, it means almost all. So I say every cryptic clue, almost all cryptic clues have the definition for the word at the beginning or the end. And that's similar to a non-cryptic crossword, where the definition is like a normal clue in a non-cryptic crossword. And then the rest is wordplay, and it can be lots of different things. So the first one here, first across, is left a street closing. So on that one, we're either going to have left as the definition or left a street or something like that, and then closing or street closing, something for the definition. Left is often used to mean the letter L in cryptic crosswords. That's an acceptable definition, or an acceptable abbreviation. You can't just abbreviate any word as the letter it starts with, but there are certain ones that are acceptable. Left for L is acceptable because that's commonly used, right? It's often, you'd have two things and it might have an L and an R on it to tell you left and right. And so left is commonly abbreviated with just an L. So that should clue you to think that maybe that's going to be an L and the definition is at the end. Street is also commonly abbreviated as ST, right? So in this, we're doing an L for left, and it's not letting me type in. Why not? L for left. There we go. Just the letter A. It's left A. It's just the A itself. And then street is ST, and last can mean closing. It's in closing. This is the last one. So there you go. That's how that one works. Let's move to the next one. Mario's 20 large. So in this one, the definition could be Mario or Mario's. It could be large. It could be 20 large. A lot of things. It's actually Mario's 20 and it's large. This is a double definition. So this is just essentially, it's like you have two different clues for a non-cryptic crossword and you're sticking them together. So Mario's 20, well, Mario is a common Italian name, and 20 in Italian is venti. And if you go to Starbucks, a large coffee at Starbucks is a venti. And so the word can be defined as Mario's 20. It can also be large. So that's what's going on with that one. All right. Oddly good acts are the best ever. Okay, so oddly, anytime you see regularly, oddly, evens, something like that, you should think, I wonder if it's the odd letters or the even letters or every other letter, every third letter. Regularly could be like every third letter. So oddly, if we take the odd letters of good acts, we have the G, skip an O, we have an O, skip the D, we have an A, skip the C, and we have a T. We get goat. And the best ever is sort of, GOAT is slang for the best ever because it stands for greatest of all time. The GOAT. If someone is the GOAT, they are the best ever. So there we go. All right. Canary tribes daily grind. Okay. So, and on this one, you'll notice it's 3,4, which tells you that it's a 7-letter answer, but it's a 3-letter word and a 4-letter word. So that's good to pay attention to also. I think it's the only one in this puzzle. Yeah, it is. That's 2 words, but. Okay, canary tribe. Now this one is a little less obvious where the definition is, right? It could be canary. We could have a type of canary here. Canary tribe, maybe. That one's a little harder to think of. What would a canary tribe be? But maybe. Daily grind. It could be daily grind. Obviously, it could be grind. Now, there's a little bit of a trick going on here that happens in cryptic crosswords sometimes. So if you just read this as a sentence, canary tribes daily grind, you're saying it's the daily grind of a canary tribe, right? That apostrophe S is possessive. However, in a cryptic crossword, people like to do this, and I did it to you here, but I'm using the apostrophe S to trick you because really what it should say is canary tribe is daily grind. But apostrophe S can be, you know, something is. It is, right? And so canary tribe is daily grind. And so daily grind is the definition here. Canary tribe is the wordplay. Now, canary can be rat. It's a little bit of a tenuous or obscure synonym, but a canary can mean someone who like rats on you, like in slang, like for a mob movie or something. You might say he's singing like a canary, singing like a canary. He's talking to the police. He's telling on us, essentially. He's tattling. And a rat is also somebody who goes and talks to the police. So in that sense, a canary and a rat would be synonymous. And then a tribe can also be a race. And the daily grind is the rat race, meaning like you go to work, you're constantly, it never ends, right? The daily grind, a rat race. So that's how we get to that one. Now that one is not one that I would say is super easy, probably. And it's probably one that if I was solving it, I would not get right away. And I would get once I had some of the down ones and I had some of the letters and I could figure out, you know, what was going on. And I'm just realizing now that if we do all the across, we're pretty much going to fill in the grid, which is fine. Then we'll go back to the downs, but we'll have most of the letters. I'm contemplating doing the across and then clearing the grid and doing the downs maybe, just so we don't have all the letters already in there. I don't know. We'll think about this. Okay, I'm just gonna do all the across and then I'll think about it. All right, number 9. Consumer moves right to the front for deception. Okay. So there's a few things you could do with this one, right? Now, right, just like the left earlier should make you think L, right should make you think R. Right should make you think R. It's not always R, but oftentimes that's an abbreviation, the R is an abbreviation for right. So moves right to the front. We might move an R to the front. In fact, that's what we're doing. But that's one way you could read this, right? Is moves right to the front. So we, and for deception is pretty clearly, it does not always mean this, but it can mean deception is the definition. And we're taking consumer, moving right to the front for deception. And a consumer is a user. So a consumer is a user, but if we move right to the front, if we move the R to the front, then we get a ruse, which is a deception. There you go. All right. This one, now the question mark. So when the needle points to E, question mark. Now the question mark tells you that there's something a little tricky going on here, or it could be a little bit of a punny answer. It could also be that this is not actually, there's no wordplay. It's just a cryptic definition. which is unusual. So this is one. Remember when I said every answer has the definition at the beginning or the end? This is that exception to the every when I said almost all. So you can have a thing called a cryptic definition, which has a question mark at the end generally, and it's just sort of a little bit of a pun or a clever or a lateral thinking kind of thing. So when the needle points to E, you're supposed to think the idea behind this clue is to make you think of a gas gauge. And well, it would be empty, right? That's fuel is empty when the needle's pointing to E instead of F. But it's only 4 letters, so you can't put empty. And so really what I'm talking about is the needle on a compass needle. When the needle points to E on a compass, it's east. So I was hoping that more people would be familiar with driving cars than using compasses in this day and age. And so you would immediately think of a gas gauge. And so it's a little bit of a misdirection or intentionally pointing you to the wrong place, I guess, is the kind of what's going on with that one. So as opposed to actual wordplay and a definition. And that's why it has the question mark on it, because it's a cryptic definition. Okay, so number 16. Men wandering through Asia have memory loss. So men or male, some of those things oftentimes can just be like, you know, a he or something like that. Or it could be the word men. In this case, it is the word men. But wandering, you're sort of moving around, you're twisting and turning, should make you think anagram, right? And Asia is weird. Why? Now, if you think of it from the perspective of me, the person who's creating the crossword, or when you're solving other crosswords, if you think from the perspective of the person who's setting the crossword, why did they say Asia? Right? Why did I throw Asia in there? I mean, what? It seems weird. Why Asia? Right? Well, it's probably because I needed the letters in the word Asia, which is what's going on here. So, knowing that Asia is probably in there as part of the wordplay, wandering is probably telling you, anagram. And so this beginning you're thinking is probably the wordplay, right? And so that means the definition is like loss or memory loss or have memory loss. And so if you think of 7-letter words for memory loss, amnesia might come to mind, especially knowing we've got Asia. And so what you have here is the A, S-I-A, is Asia. And wandering through inside of, if you're wandering through something, you're in it. So inside of the word Asia is the word men, and it's wandering, meaning it's an anagram. So the letters are mixed up. So it's men wandering through Asia, and it's memory loss, amnesia. There we go. All right, sip nothing in fog. Now, I had comments from a couple of people about this one, and that they didn't quite understand how it works. Now, this one is a little bit, the synonyms are a little obscure, not in the same way as rat for canary, I don't feel like, but it's just maybe not as commonly used. So the answer for this one is soup. Now, why is it soup? So nothing, 0, and O can mean nothing because O and 0 look the same. So nothing can be an O. So that's the O. Nothing, and it's inside of, and this is a little tricky too because I'm kind of mixing up the word order. So you're saying sip, which sup is sort of an old-fashioned word to mean sip. Sup can also mean like to eat supper, but it can mean sip. Sup can mean sip. So we've got sip, which is sup. Nothing in. So nothing is in the sip. So we have sip, nothing in. And then our definition is fog, which soup, if it's real thick fog, it can be called soup. That's sort of a little bit of an obscure slang word for fog. I don't know how much it's still used. It might just be an older term. I don't know. But there you go. So that's what's going on with that one. So on to 18, press for cold energy. This one is, I think, fairly straightforward once you figure out what's going on. There's nothing too tricky going on here. Again, you've got to kind of know what words are commonly abbreviated. And you could think about things that, I mean, these aren't just random words that people decided could be abbreviated. They're words that are abbreviated in life, basically. So cold can often be abbreviated C. Think about hot and cold taps on like a shower or a sink or something. You have an H and a C, right? That's very common. So C for cold is very common. So that's why that one could be abbreviated as C. Energy, I mean, if you've taken any physics classes or anything, you know that E can often mean energy in an equation, right? If you haven't taken physics, if you ever heard of E equals mc squared, E is energy. So what we've got here is press is the definition, and we're just literally using the word for, and then C for cold and E for energy, and it's force. Press. If you press on something, you force it. You press it, you force it. And that's what's happening there. So sometimes the for can be sort of an equal sign, like up here with this one. We said consumer moves to the right, or right to the front for deception, which is sort of saying consumer moves right to the front equals deception, right? Or is deception. So for can mean that, but sometimes for just means right in the word for, and you don't always know which one it's going to be. And so that's part of the trick with a cryptic crossword. But you have to kind of always be looking out for this could mean this, it could mean that, and sort of consider both possibilities. So, all right, 19, plots to return unwanted messages. Okay, return. If you hear return or reverse or come back or send back or anything like that, you should think it might be that we're turning the word around backwards. And that's what's going on here. Plots to return unwanted messages. Unwanted messages. If you get an unwanted message, you get spam, right? Unwanted messages would be spam. In fact, you have a spam folder in your email, probably. If you return spam, meaning you go backwards the opposite direction, you are going to get maps. And maps are plots. Plots can be maps, right? That's a synonym for maps. So there we go. All right. Let's see. Do we want to leave? I'll just leave the letters in. It's fine. We'll go to the downs. We'll already have some of the letters, but that's okay. All right. So one down. A chorus's companion is unwilling. So the is in this one is giving us the equals, right? And this one is a little bit interesting. So the apostrophe S is not trying to confuse you this time. It really is possessive. But a chorus's companion, okay, a chorus, verse and chorus, right? So a chorus, the companion to a chorus is a verse. Or you could also look at it as, there's a couple ways to do it. You could also think of it as the letter A, and then chorus's companion is verse. So either way, it's a verse, which if you put them together as one word, a verse means unwilling. If you are averse to something, you are unwilling. So there we go. 2 down. Unties knotted bonds. So knotted, sound. You're kind of knotting something up. You're twisting it. Again, should make you think anagram. There are a lot of words that can be anagram indicators. So anything where it's talking about knotting or twisting or wandering or shifting or mixing up or, any of these kind of words, breaking something or doing it unusually, any of these kind of things should make you think there could be an anagram going on. And so in this one, it could be that unties is the definition and we're anagramming the word bonds, right? Knotted bonds. Or it could be unties is knotted and unties is the word being anagrammed and bonds is the definition. And given that the answer is 6 letters long and bonds is only 5, it's probably unties and it's a word that means bonds. And in fact, it is unites. We're not even really anagramming this very much. We're just switching 2 letters. So that is all that's going on with that one. All right. 3 down. Call up about one flower. Now remember what I said about returning, reversing, sending back. If you're on a down clue and you see something about going up or rising or, anything like this, ascending, then you should kind of think about the same thing. The word's going backwards. It's going up, right? So call up. So we could be doing a word for call that's going up. We could be just literally doing the word call up. About. Now, about has a few things that it should make you think. About can mean it's about, it's around, it has the other thing inside of it, right? That's possible. Kind of like we had the through down here on the amnesia one. The men were wandering through Asia. They were in it. About can mean it's going about the outside. About can also mean literally it's the word about. It's about it. It's concerning it. It's RE, like in an email. You say regarding RE, the thing you talked about. It can mean a few different things. About could even mean it's been anagrammed. It's about. It's switched around. So there's a few different things that about can be. So consider all of those. One can be I. One I am. So if you think of one needs to do this. I need to do this, right? It kind of works that way. Also, one could be I because of just the Roman numeral, I equals one. So there's a few different ways to think of one equaling I. And then, of course, a flower. So in this case, what's happening is it's literally the word call going up. So it's going up, C-A-L-L, and it's about, meaning it's around one, the Roman numeral I. And since call is going up and it's about one, if we read it the other direction, we get lilac or lilac, which is a flower. All right, 4 down. Now this one, since we've already got 4 of the letters in, it should be fairly easy to figure out the answer. So think, if you haven't already done this, think about this one. We've got 4 of the letters. Put back noble brew. So think about that for a second. What would put back noble brew? Now you might figure it out because you can figure out just what words. I mean, we've already got 4 of the letters. There's not very many words that would work here. So think about possible words, and you might be able to kind of figure out the word play after you've got the answer. That's how it works for me a lot of times when I'm solving, is I'll figure out what the definition might be, figure out a possible answer, and then sort of deconstruct the wordplay from there. And then I can say, oh, I see how it works. So now that just figuring out the wordplay kind of confirms the answer rather than helping me get the answer a lot of times. So put back should again make you think, it might be a word backwards in reverse. Put back, just like we had to return, we had call up, or just up, I guess was the thing. But put back. So if we're putting back, we're reversing the order of something. Then we're putting back noble. And we're getting a word that means brew. So what's a word that means noble, that if you reverse it, it means a brew? And the answer is regal, reversed. Regal means noble. And if you reverse it, you get lager, which is a type of beer, a type of brew. So that's what's happening there. Okay, so 5 down. Signs of past trauma in vehicle aboard steamship. So there's a lot going on in this one, but so we know that the definition is going to be signs or signs of past trauma or signs of past trauma in vehicle. It could be a steamship, it could be a ship, it could be aboard steamship, vehicle aboard steamship. There's lots of possibilities for the definition on this one. So that one might be less helpful as far as just figuring out what the definition is to as a starting point. But there's nothing super obvious for abbreviations except for steamship. Steamship should make you think SS. That is, that's the designation for ships is SS Stephen, the SS Scott, right? The SS Stro-solves is the ship that I've created, apparently. So steamship could make you think SS. It's not always that, of course, but that makes you think, okay, well, if steamship is going to be an abbreviation, now it can't be part of the definition. So the definition's got to be the beginning. And steamship is aboard. Aboard, inside of, right? So something is inside of steamship. Maybe a vehicle is inside of the steamship. So we've got, and of course now we have 3 of the letters in here. So that should help a lot. If you already have the SS, That's your steamship. So we need a vehicle inside of or aboard our steamship. And it has to mean signs of past trauma. Well, a car is a vehicle, and scars are signs of past trauma, right? You have a scar if you get a cut, I have a scar right here on my hand. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I cut my hand when I was like 13. I had to have 8 stitches, and I've still got a scar. So a past trauma. There we go. So that's scars. All right, 10 down. Apprehensive about contents of nun's urethane. Now, nun's urethane should be a giant red blinking light, flags flying, saying, hey, these words are in here because of the letters in them. I mean, nun's urethane, that's not a thing, right? Like, you can imagine a nun using urethane, they're painting a room or staining something, and they're using urethane somehow with their staining, and, you know, you can imagine that's a thing, but it's not really a thing, right? So that should be a big red flag that these are in here for the wordplay. Now, it is possible that urethane is your definition, right? But it should make you at least say, wait, hold on, let's see if this makes sense. Apprehensive, if it wasn't the definition, if it wasn't part of the definition, what would that be? You know, you can't, it could be a short word for apprehensive, right? You could do something with nervous or something like this, but it feels like that's likely to be the definition side of it. Not necessarily, but a good place to start. About, again, you could think of around, or maybe about meaning RE, like concerning, like in an email subject, something like that. But the word that's really going to be helpful here is contents. Contents of, especially. Contents of should make you think hidden. So this is essentially the definition, contents of, and it's hidden inside of the other part. So nun's urethane is indeed in there because of the letters. So if you think about a 6-letter word that can mean apprehensive about, inside of the word nun's urethane, well, if you forget that first N, you get UNS, UNS-URE. It's the end of nuns and the beginning of urethane, and we get unsure. If you are apprehensive about something, you are unsure. And that is what's going on there. All right, so 11 down. English name beginning to look Polish. Now, this one is a little bit of a trick. I wanted to do a capital P because the lowercase p should actually clue you into what's happening here a little bit, because Polish should be capital. And I talked to a couple people, and they felt that the capital P was unfair. And if it was pronounced the same way, it would be fine to do the capital letter, essentially. You can do capitals where they maybe aren't right. So essentially what's happening here is we're saying English name beginning to look Polish, not Polish, which is why it's a lowercase p. Because the definition is Polish, and we're saying English. Now, English can often be abbreviated as just the letter E. That is an acceptable abbreviation. It's used a lot that way. I have seen it as EN as well, but in this case, we're using the E, and then we're just literally doing the word name. We're not even doing anything clever with the word name. It's just the letter E for English, name, and then beginning to look. Again, beginning to should make you think, it could be just the start. It could, if you get the end of, or ultimately, or finally, or something like that, you should think of the last letter. Beginning to look, well, the beginning to look is just the letter L, right? L is the beginning to the word look. So we have an E for English, the word name, the beginning to look, which is an L, and we get enamel, which is another word for a polish. I wanted to do a capital P because then you say English name beginning to look Polish, and it's sort of intentionally deceptive to make you think the wrong thing. these clues are often written to make you think the wrong way, right? Just like I had the capital or the apostrophe S up here. Canary tribes, making you think possessive when it really is daily grind. So they're designed to make you think the wrong thing. So you have to then think, okay, they're trying to make me think this way. What's another way to think? So anyways, all right, 13 down. Smell a growing love. Now this is another one. Growing on a down clue should make you think, growing means getting bigger, going up. Think about a plant is growing. It's growing, it's moving vertically. So therefore, maybe it's a word growing, going backwards, right? Rising, those kind of things. Smell a growing love. Okay, so A, we've got an A. That's just the letter A. It's just the letter A. Growing love. Well, it's not going to be love. It's not EVOL. Now, we have the O there, right? But if we didn't have maps, right? Let's assume we didn't have maps for a second. You could say, oh, well, I bet it's the word love. Oh, well, that doesn't work anyways. Never mind, because love would not be growing. The O would be in the wrong place. But at any rate, it doesn't work out as an actual word. Anyways, so what we need is a word for love. And since we have the A there, we know that we need a 4-letter word for love. And in fact, amor is a word for love, and it's growing, meaning it's going the wrong direction. It's rising, right? Instead of going down. Amor, plus we have the A there, and we get aroma, which is a smell. Now you'll notice the A is at the top, and then the amor is growing. It's not amor, and the whole thing is growing. The extra A isn't at the bottom, so because just the love is growing after you do the A. So. All right, let's see. 14 down. Thanks. Son embraced dad for starters. So you can imagine a father and a son, and the son is thanking his dad, and he embraces him, gives him a hug. It's a beautiful, pretty picture, but it's all used to deceive you because what's really going on is we have thanks, which can be ta. Now, this is a little bit of a British-ism. I've never used this, but I know it's a thing that exists. So ta can mean thanks. And then son embraced dad. Now embraced, you're supposed to be picturing the son hugging his father. And that's kind of what's going on. But really it's embracing, meaning the words are hugging or embracing or containing another word. And in this case, it's not. So the punctuation kind of messes you up because you're thinking son embraced dad. So you're thinking a word for dad inside of a word for son, right? But that's not what's happening. What we're actually doing is thanks son, those two words together, thanks son, is embracing dad. So the dad is a pa. Pa is dad. And it's embraced or it's contained inside of thanks son. Now son can be an S. If you think of a family tree or some sort of genealogical thing, you would list a male child as S and a female child as D. That's not unusual to list things that way. So S can be son. It could even be on a birth certificate. I don't know if it would be listed that way, but it's not unusual for S to be an abbreviation for son. So that's one of the acceptable cryptic definitions or cryptic abbreviations. Sorry. So we have thanks, son, embracing dad, and we get tapas, which are starters like Spanish small plates of appetizers, basically. All right, we have one clue left. All right. Fans uprising over university's mistake. So again, you're supposed to picture a group of fans, maybe Iowa State fans after they lost in the March Madness, which is, yeah. And the fans are upset. They're uprising, they're angry because the university made a mistake. And so there's an uprising. Well, really what's happening is fans are uprising. Again, it's a down clue. You hear up, you hear rising, uprising. You should definitely be thinking of the opposite direction. And then over, over again on a down clue, over should make you think something is above something else. Actually physically in the crossword grid, it's over it, it's above it. So we have fans uprising, right? Fans are uprising. It's going up, and it's over. Well, university is often abbreviated as U. For example, Iowa State University, ISU. U is for university. So we have fans uprising. It's over a U, and it means a mistake, a snafu is a mistake. And there you go. So that is all of the clues in this cryptic crossword. Hopefully that helped explain some of them if you were unfamiliar. If you've never done a cryptic crossword before, hopefully you were able to follow my explanations and that made at least a little bit of sense. And yeah, go check out Wits End and all of my puzzles there. And let me know if you'd like to see more regular crosswords, cryptic crosswords, no crosswords in the future. And be sure to subscribe here and on Wits End for more.